Welcome to Cosplay Gourmet. I'm Claire, and today, obviously, we are doing Ninja Turtles. And of course, what are the Ninja Turtles' favorite food but pizza? We're going to start off with a pepperoni, then do a Ninja Turtle special, and then for part 2, we're going to switch over to a dessert pizza. So, cowabunga dudes. So we're going to start by making our pizza dough, and for this I'm going to go over the ingredients. We're going to need about 3.5 to 4 cups of flour. Part of it's going to be for the recipe, another part's going to be for some dusting. We're going to have about 2 teaspoons of salt, just enough olive oil to kind of coat the dish you're going to have it rise in, and we're going to have another teaspoon of sugar to help with the yeast, and then 1 packet of dry active yeast. And then you're also going to need about 1.5 cups of warm water. You're going to want this water to be about 110 degrees. If you get it too hot, you're going to kill the yeast. If you get it too cold, you're not going to activate the yeast. So, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to put my flour into my mixer with the dough hook. And I'm going to add the salt. And I'm just going to put that on low, let it stir a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to throw in my yeast into my warm water. Stir that up a little bit. And then I'm going to add my sugar to this. The yeast love the sugar. It's important with the yeast is to make sure that it's current yeast, is past the expiration date. I mean, you have to consider that these are living things. And it should kind of foam up a little bit. And if it doesn't foam, then that's kind of when you know that your yeast isn't doing what you want it to. So when your yeast is becoming activated, you'll notice some bubbles and it becomes a little bit thicker. So when it comes active, just stir it on into your dough mix. When you're making a dough, it's not an exact science. It's kind of just looking at it and making sure it's the right texture. So I can tell that my dough is still pretty tacky, too much so. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add probably another 1/3 cup of flour and continue to mix. So I took my dough out of the bowl and I'm going to now start kneading it with some of the flour that I laid out. It's still a little bit tacky, but it's okay as long as you incorporate some of the flours as you're kneading. A good technique is just to use your fists, kind of punch it out a little bit, rotate it. Nice to have a little extra flour handy too. My dough has all been kneaded. It's a nice texture, not too sticky, not too firm. And so now I'm just going to take my olive oil and I'm just going to put a little bit in the bowl just to kind of grease it up. Make sure yeast has plenty of room to grow in here. And throw my yeast ball, or my pizza dough ball in there. And I'm going to cover it with some saran wrap and let it sit for an hour or two, until it has risen to approximately double its size. A handy little trick you can do too is just draw a little bit of an outline where the current dough is, so then you can track the progress of how much it's risen. Here is the outline of my dough. We're now going to start making our dessert pizza. We're going to start with a sugar cookie base, and then we're going to put a layer of peanut butter sauce, and then top it with some marshmallows and some other ingredients on top. So we're going to start with the sugar cookie base. So for this, you're going to need 2 3/4 cup flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 egg, vanilla extract, a cup of butter or 2 sticks, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk, buttermilk, almond milk, Whichever milk you have will work. I'm going to start by combining the butter and the sugar, and I'm going to put that on a medium speed to cream it. Come on, butter. You should also make sure that your butter is softened. It makes this process a lot easier. Now that my butter and sugar are together and creamed, I'm going to add the egg. And let that beat there. And lastly, I'm just going to add a little bit of vanilla, so probably half a teaspoon, to this butter, cream, sugar mixture. In my other bowl, I'm going to combine my dry ingredients. So my baking powder, baking soda, and my flour. And I'm going to whisk them together real quick. Make sure they're all combined. And then I'm going to put my mixer back on slow, and I'm going to slowly start adding dry ingredients to the mixer. And now as I'm pouring my dry ingredients in, it's going to get really thick in there. So I'm going to start gradually adding my milk as I'm adding the dry ingredients to make sure that it stays moistened into a ball and doesn't get too dry. So I am going to take my dough out of the mixer, and I'm probably going to knead this a little bit too, just make sure it's all well combined. Just in my hands a bit. I have this cookie sheet out, which is where I'm going to press the dough into. You don't need to butter it, it has enough butter in it. So now I'm just spreading the cookie mixture into my pan. And then from here, we're going to bake it for probably about 20 minutes on 350. My cookie dough is now pressed into my pan, and the oven has preheated to the 350 degrees, so it's going to go in. While my sugar cookie crust is baking, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the peanut butter sauce mixture. So for this, I'm using a tablespoon of butter, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and about 8 tablespoons of peanut butter, and you're just going to throw them into a microwave-safe container and stir them together. And then when the pizza comes out and it's cooled a little bit, we're going to heat it up a little bit, and then drizzle it all over the crust. I put all my ingredients into this glass dish, and now I'm just going to stir. I'm done stirring, and now we have a smooth consistency for the spread, and I'm just going to wait for the crust to get done in the oven. I just took my sugar cookie crust out of the oven. It's still nice and warm. So while it's warm, I'm going to heat this up for about 30 seconds, my peanut butter mixture, and then it'll be nice and easy to spread over the top. So my peanut butter mixture is now nice and warmed up. It's nice and liquidy, so it's going to be really easy to spread on top. My peanut butter sauce has been spread across the crust. The crust looks nice and brown on the edges. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the marshmallows on top. I also preset the oven to broil on high, so that we can toast up these marshmallows as soon as we get them on. I just finished topping up the peanut butter structure with the marshmallows. I did use store-bought marshmallows for convenience, but if you want to look back at one of our previous episodes where we did Ghostbusters, you can click right here, and we made homemade marshmallows you could use. So now to top off the marshmallow mixture, I got some peanut butter chips that are Reese's, and so I'm going to scatter some of those across the top, and some Reese's Pieces too. So once I have this all topped off like I'd like, I'm just going to put this on broil in the oven for just a couple minutes. I'm not even going to tell you a time because it's really going to be approximate to when you see the marshmallows toasting and however you like it. My toppings are all set, so now it's going to go in the oven on broil. We have our complete dessert pizza. So we have a sugar cookie crust with a peanut butter sauce and marshmallow and Reese's peanut butter pieces. in peanut butter chips as a topping. It only took a few seconds on broil. As you can tell, mine got a little bit crispy, so you really got to watch it. Well, back to the pizza. It looks like my dough is pretty much risen. As you can see, it has substantially increased in size. So I'm going to start making my sauce so I can get ready to make my pizza. So I'm just using a plain tomato sauce. I added probably about 2 tablespoons of Italian seasonings. And then I'm just going to add some garlic. I've already peeled it, and I just put it into a press, and I'm going to press it out into the sauce. So it's pretty simple. It's a lot easier than chopping garlic. You could also just use garlic powder, or you can buy already chopped garlic in the store, but I feel like fresh is best. Now my sauce is prepared. I ended up adding about 3 cloves of garlic, but again, that's something that's up to you. So my dough is now risen, and it's getting a little sticky here, which is pretty much what you want. And great. Okay, so now I'm just going to start kneading again. I've already prepped out some flour. Perfect. Okay, so this is still a pretty lot of dough, so I'm actually going to cut it in half for my one pizza and then put the rest aside for my second pizza. My oven is now preheated to 450 degrees. I have my pizza stone in there heating up, prepping for my dough. If you don't have a pizza stone, then you can just use a cookie sheet and it should be just fine. My oven has now preheated to the designated temperature and the stone should be ready. And I'm going to put the dough on it and then back in the oven for about 5 minutes to warm that up and get some rigidity to the dough before I add my toppings. It's been about 5 minutes, so now my pizza crust is ready for its toppings. I have my tomato sauce right here. Just gonna scoop it out. I also have a ladle here, but my sauce is spread, so now I'm going to add my cheese. And just like the Ninja Turtles, I want my cheese to be extra cheesy. Now it's time for pepperoni. I've added my topping, so it's going back in the oven for another 5 minutes. Go Ninja! Go Ninja! Go! 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 Looks like the first pizza is done, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and I'm actually just going to slide it onto my cutting board so that I can get the other crust preheated. My other dough is prepared, so it's going in the oven again at 350 degrees for 5 minutes. Okay, our second dough is ready, fresh out of the oven. And so I'm just going to ladle on some of my sauce. And this is going to be the specialty Ninja Turtle pizza. So we did some exasperating research, figuring out what the Ninja Turtles liked on their pizza the best, which they ordered the best, and which would be edible for humans. And we decided on pickles, avocado, well it's really guacamole, and pepperoni. Now I'm adding the cheese and then some of these great toppings. And we'll start with the pickles. This is going to be interesting. Now putting some of this guacamole on. Now the toppings are on for the specialty Ninja Turtle pizza, and it's going back in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes until it's the crispiest you liked. So our specialty Ninja Turtle pizza is all done. Looks pretty tasty actually. Some of the pickle juice looks like got on some of the other pizza, but it's kind of the purpose of it. So that's it for this episode of Cosplay Gourmet. Not exactly pickle, herring, and ice cream pizza, but we do what we can. So this time, turtle power, and it's pizza time.
Typical Ninja Turtle fashion. Let's go for a triple decker pizza supreme. So we've got the pepperoni avocado pickle pizza, some of the dessert marshmallow peanut butter pizza, sugar cookie, and the pepperoni pizza on top. Cowabunga, dudes. That's actually really good. You got the sweetness from the sugar cookie and the marshmallow with the saltiness of the pickle and the garlic and the avocado and the pepperoni. I would make this a triple layer pizza and I would eat this.